You entered the defense forces in the 1980s, and also the fact that you have served in the state of Punjab. That obviously brings me to the question when you joined. Punjab was experiencing counter-insurgency. What are your ground experiences and lived experiences from Punjab?
Militancy and counter-insurgency in Punjab cannot be compared with militancy and counter-insurgency in Kashmir. The grievances that population of Punjab faced are quite different to what the grievances of Kashmiris.
Sir, you have written a book, Forged for Triumph, Bahadur Basath, which talks about the gallantry and the courage of 62 RR.
62 RR was raised in June 2004, and after about 8 months of training, we were deployed initially for Amarnath Yatra, and thereafter I took on the operational responsibility in South Kashmir in an area called Behibag. Nildora haunts me even today. I feel angst and I feel so helpless that why did this happen? Next day I organized a cordon search of Sempura, and then I addressed them. What sort of villagers are you? अपने भाई को आप लोगों ने terrorist बना दिया.
You're saying that Ilyas Kashmiri or Major Iqbal, as has been projected in the movie,
Ilyas Kashmiri in that movie also mentions that he had gone into the Indian side.
what is your viewpoint on the induction of women soldiers as combatants on front lines?
So ladies are joining the army world over. India also there are a large number of ladies, and they are doing a good job. The two lady soldiers who were doing the press briefing during Operation Sindoor are an example. The ladies may be willing to take on combat roles in coming future. He walked up and shook hands with me. Then he said, "You are the only tiger in Northern Command." Now this was an appreciation that came from General Panag.
Since Shaurya is about the valor and courage of our soldiers, which is on display. But the silent crusaders are the members of the family.
The families of the soldiers who are deployed in such active areas do go through a very, very difficult time. Silently, they suffer a lot. The terrorists came and stood in front of him, and Gaurav fired at him. As luck would have it, the weapon did not fire.
Hello and a warm welcome to RoundtableIAS and to this series called as Shaurya, which has been jointly presented to you by Roundtable and CENJOS, which stands for Center for Joint Warfare Studies. That the objective of this podcast is to deconstruct a soldier's life. Soldier ki kahani usi ki zubani. War has become a spectacle, and soldiers and armies have become props in the discourse which is being woven around the world today. And therefore, it is incumbent upon us to bring out a more benign, a more humane, and a more people centric approach. At Roundtable, along with CENJOS, we have curated a list of celebrated war veterans who have contributed with their life to securing the borders of this nation. It is through their stories we are going to learn about the tales of courage, the tales of valor, and how India remains to be a sovereign, integral nation. So, here's to welcoming you all on board at Shaurya, presented to you by Roundtable IAS and CENJOS. And I'm absolutely thrilled to announce that the first guest on Shaurya is Brigadier Brij Gopal. He is a celebrated war veteran who has been the recipient of gallantry awards like the Sena Medal and the Yuddh Seva Medal. He has given his life while working in Jammu and Kashmir, while working in the high altitude regions of South Kashmir, as well as Punjab. At this juncture, sir, I welcome you to Shaurya.
Thank you very much, Rohan. And at the outset, I would like to thank you for giving me an opportunity to come over here and speak on the first episode of Shaurya series of Roundtable IAS.
Pleasure, sir.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure, sir. Pleasure. So, my question to you is a very fundamental question which is asked to almost every defense veteran, war veteran. What inspired you at a young age to join the Indian Armed Forces?
You see, as a student, I come from Lucknow, and as a student, my life was going on absolutely fine until I lost my father. I lost my father fairly early, and it was sometime in 1981 that I lost my father, and I was in class 11 at that point of time. So one had to see that what am I going to do? My father was a lawyer. I couldn't have pursued law because I was only in class 11. I would have had to complete my 12th, then my graduation, and then 3 years of LLB, and then come into the profession of law. So the easiest and the fastest way to stand on one's 2 feet was to join the Indian Armed Forces. I tried for the National Defense Academy, but I was by then overage for that. So I did my graduation, and I appeared in the All India Combined Defense Services examination. Got through. God was kind that I got through the Services Selection Board also, and came into the army.
Going forward, I would like to know one thing, that entering into the defense forces is one thing, and then developing an expertise and working as a specialist in counter-insurgency operations. What series of events pushed you towards that?
See, after getting commissioned into my parent battalion, that is the 10th Battalion of the Dogra Regiment, uh, it is just by default that I got initiated into counterinsurgency, because my first deployment in counterinsurgency environment was in Punjab, where my battalion was inducted for about 8 months or so. Thereafter, I learned the basics of counterinsurgency over there along with my battalion. And then, once again, after sometime in 1998, uh, along with my battalion, I was inducted into South Kashmir, that is in the Rajouri area. At that point of time, Rajouri was quite active, full of militancy, and we fought number of operations over there. And that is where I learned those finer nuances of counterinsurgency. There were able seniors who taught me. There were able Jawans who were in my company, who had seen insurgency earlier, who who helped me understand the operations and how to act and react in each operation. So my basic learning was conducted in these two places, and thereafter, when I time came for me to command a battalion, I was lucky that I was given the task of raising 62 RR as per my request to the then colonel of the regiment, General N.C. Vij.
Great, sir. Uh, for the lay person, for the lay viewer here, would you be able to deconstruct what counter-insurgency is?
Counter-insurgency is trying to fight insurgents who are youth who have been brainwashed by some section of the society, or maybe some sections of people who are across the border. They feel that they are aggrieved. They take on the responsibility to fight for the larger cause of the people, a cause which is fictitious in their minds. They take on the local administration, and a stage comes when they start taking on the nation's might, that is, they start taking on the army. And that is when the counter insurgency operations have to be launched by the government to find out these people and neutralize them, so that the entire environment becomes congenial for developmental activities to be carried out, so that the population at large is benefited.
So, what are your lived experiences from Punjab? That is the first question. The second follow-up question to that is कि सर, क्योंकि आपने indoctrination की बात की, जो नॉन स्टेट एक्टर्स होते हैं उनमें एक सेंस ऑफ सफरिंग होता है. सो क्या आर्मी का रोल सिर्फ एलिमिनेशन या न्यूट्रलाइजेशन तक सीमित है? क्योंकि वंस यू एलिमिनेट द नॉन स्टेट एक्टर, how do you ensure that another non-state actor does not crop up or another or outfit does not crop up? Because that sense of suffering is always going to be there. So that is my question, that psychologically, how do you ensure that you do not face such problems? Now, why I'm focusing on Punjab is that we have successfully eliminated counter-insurgency from Punjab. So sir, if you could take us through your experience in that state at that point in time, that would greatly help our viewers.
Militancy and counter-insurgency in Punjab cannot be compared with militancy and counter-insurgency in Kashmir.
Right, sir.
The grievances that the Punjab population of Punjab faced are quite different to what the grievances of Kashmiris are.
Sir, if I interject here,
Yeah.
can you tell us कि जो सेंस ऑफ सफरिंग कश्मीर के लोगों में है या और जो सेंस ऑफ सफरिंग पंजाब में आपने देखा, उसमें डिफरेंस क्या था? कैन यू डिफाइन दैट फॉर अस?
See, Punjab was a state that was doing exceptionally well.
Okay.
And agriculture was one of their forte. They were doing very well agriculturally. Socially, they were doing very well.
Right, sir.
And then, somebody started planting a vicious seed in the minds of the young population, and that was how to become rich overnight.
Right.
And how to become rich overnight was that what was propagated through the religious teachers over there at that point of time was that when a child grows up and becomes an adult, you give him a weapon.
Right.
Thereafter, you don't have to invest in any other thing. Just invest in giving him a weapon, and thereafter, all the goodies of the world will come to you. Now, the people of Punjab were slightly more intelligent, I would say, that they understood this game plan. And they started themselves weeding their children away from this particular thing. Because when the children were getting into counter-insurgency, their own crops were getting affected. Their own culture was getting affected. So they did not want this culture to just collapse and finish. So it is the local population who rose up. The defense forces only assisted the civil administration and the police. They made a scenario where the local police became all the more important. They started operating more independently over there. So that is how the militancy was fought. It was not fought only by the gun. It was fought by the local population of Punjab. It was fought by the local administration also equally well, who provided all the support to the defense forces and to the local administration. So that is how Punjab militancy got resolved and sorted out over a period of time. As far as J&K is concerned, J&K it is slightly different. Right from inception, the people of J&K have felt that they are aggrieved. And subversion of the population has started. It starts right from the grassroots levels. Now, when this sort of a ideology is nurturing in a particular society, it is very difficult to take it out from their minds. It is now that the people of Kashmir have realized that militancy is actually demolishing their own economy. And that is how you see that in the last 5 to 10 years, militancy has dropped to quite an extent in Kashmir. Because the people themselves have understood that this is not the way forward. Punjab also wanted to be an independent state.
Punjab, as you rightly pointed out, the society could also discard and discredit Bhindranwale's ideology. So the all the stakeholders in the society, including the society, the civil society itself, they were instrumental in weeding out the non-state actors. In the last 10, 15, 20 years, right from Kargil up until Pahalgam, we have seen attacks, whereas Punjab is relatively peaceful as compared to Kashmir. So, is that sense of suffering or is that sense of alienation too high in Kashmir that we have reached a point of no return?
You see, today Kashmir is connected by the mainland India by air. Numerous amount of airlines are operating over there. It is connected by road. It is connected by train. There was a time when driving from Jammu to Srinagar, it used to take almost about more than 2 days or 2 days. Today, you can sit in Jammu in a train, or rather, you can sit in a train in Delhi and reach Baramulla by the evening. Now, that is the type of connectivity which is coming up. So, Kashmir is seeing, the local population is seeing the change which has come about in the last say 20 years. So the thinking is bound to change. The thinking is bound to change, and people are bound to um leave the path of militancy and insurgency and come into the mainstream.
That in Punjab, the police, the law enforcing agency, could also play an instrumental role in eliminating the non-state actors, right? Under, if I'm not wrong, KPS Gill, right, who was the IPS officer,
Yes.
right? A very celebrated IPS
Yeah,
officer, by the way.
absolutely,
Right.
absolutely.
Why is the law enforcement agency in Kashmir not able to synchronize its efforts in an outcome oriented manner with the Indian Army?
Even in Punjab, initially the militancy was at a higher level. Then slowly it was brought down through the involvement and induction of the Indian Army. And thereafter, a stage came when the police took over. A similar procedure is happening in Kashmir also. There was a time, or there was a time when the army and the Rashtriya rifle units were in the forefront. Slowly, the JNK police and the CRPF battalions are slowly getting into the shoes of the RR battalions and the infantry battalions. They are taking on the law enforcement tasks. So it all these things do not happen in the flick of two fingers. It takes a bit of time. People have to slowly get accustomed to the life that is going on in Kashmir. You have mentioned that if things are improving, then why do we see incidents of terrorism in Kashmir? You see, when you are trying to eradicate counter or rather insurgents, there was a time when they were in thousands. Today, they are in just about a few hundreds. Now, it is like finding a needle in a haystack. So, it takes time. And when you are trying to find these people, the needle at times does pinches you. And that is why you find that suddenly there is an act of terrorism, and people who are sitting on the other side of the border are also trying to revive the terrorism, because they feel that the level of militancy in Kashmir is going down. So there are factors, there are non-state actors which are acting from across the border also. So to fight all these things, it will take a little bit of time, and things are improving. They will improve, and Kashmir is definitely going to get onto a positive line.
Sir, absolutely. Like you, all of us share a very positive sentiment about this. Uh, I would also want to know your position on the Armed Forces Special Protection Act. And do you think that AFSPA is a non negotiable instrument if we want Kashmir to be an integral part of India? But then, in that kind of an ecosystem, how do we build confidence, a sense of confidence amongst the civilians?
See, the instrument of AFSPA uh, at the moment, I think, is a need of the hour. Because when you are asking a soldier, I'm not talking of the army soldier, I'm talking of the paramilitary or the CAPF also. When he's operating over there, you can't ask him to fight with his hands tied behind his back.
Right.
You need to
Absolutely.
support him.
Exactly.
And how do you support him? It is through AFSPA. Yes, a time will come when when it is felt that AFSPA needs to be withdrawn, removed, relaxed, and at the opportune time, all these activities will take place. I would like to say only this much at the moment, that it is a need of the hour. Signature of defense forces and the army in particular is slowly getting reduced. It may not be coming out in the media, or it is deliberately not being projected, but there are cases where there are places where from where the army has been withdrawn. The army, the areas which used to be with the army have been taken over by the CRPF, and the army has been relieved from there. So slowly the local police is taking over.
Chaliye sir, going forward, because everybody, including non-Kashmiris, want to see a gradual withdrawal of forces, but obviously not at the cost of India's territorial integrity, I would say. One question which is quite pertinent is that the Rashtriya Rifles is a celebrated unit of Indian Army, right? As much as I've read about the Indian Army, as much as I've interacted with war veterans and defense professionals, uh, people have glowing tributes to pay when it comes to Rashtriya Rifles. And since you have commanded 62nd Rashtriya Rifles, the regiment, what makes them so effective when it comes to maintenance of border security and when it comes to, peace initiatives or is restoring of peace, I would say?
Restoring of peace. The concept of Rashtriya Rifles came about sometime in 1992. And the concept came about at that point of time when militancy in Punjab uh, gaining the upper hand. However, Rashtriya Rifles was not deployed in Punjab. They were initially sent to East.
Okay. Yeah.
Thereafter, in 89 and beyond that, the insurgency in Kashmir started gaining an upper hand, and there was a sudden spike in the graph of insurgency in Kashmir. So that is when the mandate for Rashtriya Rifle totally changed, and it was they were mandated for Jammu and Kashmir. So that is how Rashtriya Rifle came to Kashmir. Now you are saying that how is Rashtriya Rifle, how does it operate? Now Rashtriya
No, sir. My
Rifle,
question is, yes, how does it operate comes later.
yeah,
What comes first is Rashtriya Rifles as a unit. What makes
yeah,
them
what makes
special?
them special?
Is it
Okay.
the training which makes them special, or is it the area of operation which makes them special, or is it the results that they have provided?
When this Rashtriya Rifle thought process came and units were raised, they were raised by taking people from infantry battalions, armored regiments, and various other, arms and services of the Indian Army, and then a unit was made. This unit was made to operate in Jammu and Kashmir, and a little bit of some bit of leniency was given to them because of the type of deployment they had. Because
So does leniency mean some sort of impunity from law?
I wouldn't say impunity from law, because everybody comes under the gambit of law.
Right.
But at the command level, they were given a bit of a loose rope. Uh, by the nature of the deployment, the battalion headquarters was located at one place, and the 6 companies of the Rashtriya Rifle Battalion were located at 6 different places. That is how a grid was established in a
In GNK
particular
itself.
area. Yeah. Now these companies were operating independently.
Okay.
So that is how it gave a bit of independence to the company commanders, to the troops also. When I say a bit of leniency and relaxation of rules was given, that a person who was in Rashtriya Rifles to operate and mix with the locals and to operate efficiently, he was permitted to keep a beard.
Right.
Okay? So that a soldier felt that now he is come into a place where he is not governed by too much by discipline.
Right.
He has a discipline, he has a एक उसके पास दायरा है जिसके अंदर उसको काम करना है, but he has a bit of liberty also. This was double-edged weapon, but then it proved to be more fruitful
In
than
the long term. Right.
going against the system. So this is the main thing that went in favor of Rashtriya Rifles. By keeping a small beard, by mixing with the people over there, by operating independently over there, they used to mix with the locals. They could speak to the locals. Since these R units had people who were from Jammu and Kashmir Light Infantry, who were soldiers coming from Kashmir itself.
Right.
So those people could talk in the same language.
Right.
Now these are the things made Rashtriya Rifles special.
Okay.
And that is how they excelled.
So, sir, जो distribution of forces, or one can say the distribution of personnel within Rashtriya Rifles, is it majorly drawn from Jammu and Kashmir, or it is drawn largely from all states?
Rashtriya Rifle units are from all over the country.
Right.
Every Rashtriya Rifle battalion has 10 soldiers who are from the Jammu and Kashmir Light Infantry battalions.
Right.
Now, these are the people who help these Rashtriya Rifle units as interpreters. They help them in gathering intelligence, and they help them in terms of, at times, as guides. So that is how these people from the Jammu and Kashmir Light Infantry, they help the R units to settle down and operate in their area of responsibility.
Draw a parallel with Vietnam War. Why do a lot of armies lose a war? Is not because they are not sophisticated, is not because they are not well trained, or is not because they don't have the hardware to do it, but because they lack local level knowledge. That information is the key to success in counter-insurgency. And the flow of information is mostly oral in these areas. And therefore, it is important and almost mandatory to have people who have local level knowledge. Right. In that sense, can we say that the Rashtriya Rifles approach can be superimposed and deployed over all the border areas in India?
At the moment, Rashtriya Rifle battalions are in the hinterland in Jammu and Kashmir. Very few battalions are there which are on the border.
Okay.
And now a stage has come where CRPF is coming to replace them, and CRPF is taking the front driving seat, and Rashtriya Rifles is taking a step back.
Okay.
So that is a step towards
More
giving
peaceful
more
times.
yes
Correct.
more peaceful times. So they can be deployed anywhere in the country.
Operation Parakram, which was a response to the terrorist attack in 2001, if I'm not wrong, the parliament attack, right? Could you take us through the story of that attack and how Indian Army responded, right? And also the elements or prominent non-state actors which might have emerged after that.
This is interesting because at that point of time, I had been posted out from my parent battalion, and I had come as brigade major of 80 Infantry Brigade that is deployed at Naushera. Now that is here when Operation Parakram was going on, and it was at the peak of Operation Parakram. Pakistan was relentlessly trying to send in terrorists across the border to create havoc on this side of the fence. That time there was no fence also. So terrorists were coming, and
So there was no fence.
there was no fence at that point of time. Fence
Okay.
came up later.
Fencing, sir, is supposed to be the most basic border infrastructure between any two countries.
Any two countries. So at that point of time, it was not there, and the concept was not even born at that point of time.
Right. Is that on account of the treacherous and the mountainous and the rugged
To some
topography?
extent, yes.
Okay,
To some
okay.
extent, yes. Now, at that point of time, Pakistan had something known as the border action teams. These border action teams were made of terrorists. They were comprised of terrorists. And the Pakistan army used to assist them up to the line of control. Thereafter, they would help them cross the line of control and intrude into the Indian side. And these border action teams would find weak spots uh, within the Indian defenses and would attack the forward Indian posts, which were lightly held, less number of people. So, at times, most of the times, they were not successful. The border action teams were fired upon by our alert guards. They would return back, at times leaving their dead behind. Dead
So, do
terrorists
you mean
behind.
to say that the Pakistani army used to provide operational support to the non-state actors all the way inside the LOC?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
that clearly
If not inside the line of control, at least up to the line of control.
up to the line of control.
Up to the line of control.
Okay.
Because when certain terrorists were killed or apprehended, we would find they were carrying rucksacks with Pakistani markings. They would be wearing boots which are with Pakistani marking. They were carrying rations with Pakistani markings. So there's all the more reason, not all the more reason, there's a complete reason that they were being sponsored by somebody on the other side.
And even actively helped by the
Absolutely,
Pakistani army.
absolutely.
Okay. So we have clear evidence to suggest that.
Yes, I mean, it has been proved time and again. So these border action teams used to come inside, and our people used to be totally alert, especially in the hours of darkness, for any movement that was seen on the other side of the border, and they would react to it. But again, as I told you earlier, that finding a needle in it's like finding a needle in the haystack. When you attempt such things at 10 places, one place you may be successful. So there were places where they got successful, and one place where they got successful was in a place called Ashok LP in Naushera. This activity happened when I was the
So for
brigade
just for our
major.
viewers, could you give a locational understanding, Ashok LP?
Listening post.
Listening post.
Now, you see, if you see the map of Kashmir, you are familiar with Kashmir. Now, Kashmir is north of Pir Panjal ranges.
Right.
South of Pir Panjal ranges is the Rajouri area. Now, south of Pir Panjal, you have the Poonch area. Thereafter, you have the Rajouri area. In between, you have the Mendar area, and then you have the Rajouri area. And coming south, you have other geographical areas. So, in the Rajouri area, there is a town or a very important place by the name of Naushera. So, Naushera has got a number of battalions deployed on the line of control, and one of the posts is called Ashok. Ashok had a further projection towards the enemy, which was surrounded by the enemy posts, and that was called as the Ashok LP, that is listening post.
Listening post.
It was occupied by 10 soldiers and commanded by a junior commissioned officer. This time, the border action team attempted to come into Ashok LP. So, that particular night, there was heavy mortar shelling, and in the shadow of that mortar shelling, there were about 7-8 terrorists, or maybe about 10 odd terrorists, who sneaked into the Indian side.
Okay.
sneak behind the Ashok LP post, and a raid was conducted by these terrorists. Unfortunately, it led to serious casualties, and one of the casualty was a headless body.
Okay.
Come to this movie of Dhurinder. This actor, and this particular character of Ilyas Kashmiri has been very well portrayed by Arjun Rampal.
Right.
uh,
I think
who-
I guess you're talking about Major Iqbal in the movie.
Yes, Major Iqbal or Ilyas Kashmiri.
Okay.
Now, there they talk about Major Iqbal and not Ilyas Kashmiri. There was nobody who was existing in the name of Major Iqbal at that point of time.
Okay.
It was a code name which was being used by ISI to control a number of or a few terrorists.
Right.
Ilyas Kashmiri was one of them. It was given back in the same manner, or maybe in a more befitting manner, by another unit of 80 Brigade, and that was 14 Garhwal.
Indian Army, when it launched an operation, the operation to avenge the deaths of our soldiers, that was launched inside the mainland territory of Pakistan or inside LOC or beyond
Across
LOC?
the LOC.
Across the LOC.
Across the line of control.
Right. And
In
then
Pakistan occupied Kashmir.
in Pakistan occupied Kashmir.
Yes.
So does that mean that because it is in POK, it cannot be officially declared as an act of war by Pakistan?
Pakistan occupied Kashmir is Indian territory.
Is Indian territory.
Yes.
Right.
So
But Pakistan is known to, prop up this issue that since this is Azad Kashmir, and if Indian Army is stepping up its operations over there, this could be an act of war. And they still didn't decry this as an act of war. Is it because they were successfully annihilated in that operation? Is it a face saving exercise?
see, successful annihilation is one part of it.
Okay.
And the second part is that since they call it Azad Kashmir, they cannot call it Pakistan. The border between us and Pakistan occupied Kashmir is a line of control. It's a
Right.
working boundary.
Exactly.
It is not a proper boundary
Yes.
as it
It
exists
is not a
in Punjab.
demarcated boundary. Yeah.
So the territorial integrity of Pakistan was not violated.
Right.
India or Indian soldiers were going into our own territory.
Right.
Yes, they have taught a lesson to the Pakistani regular forces, because that is where it hurts.
So did we destroy the entire post over there?
Entire post was destroyed.
Okay.
Almost about 5 bunkers were destroyed, and good about 23 odd soldiers, regular soldiers, were eliminated.
Sir, could you talk us more through the operation when you talk about the, one can say, the launch attack taken by 14 Gadwal? In terms of its operational nuances, in terms of how it was planned, topography,
Okay.
terrain, people, information.
See, when this operation was conceived, when the task was given that Ashok LP needs to be, avenged, that is when 14 Garhwal, which was being led by a very capable officer, Colonel Vinod Khandare,
Okay.
who's retired as Lieutenant General Vinod Khandare, who was also the advisor to the Ministry of Defense, and he was advisor to the National Security Advisor also. So he was the commanding officer at that point of time. So he volunteered to conduct this operation. But he laid a condition. The condition he laid was that the target will be chosen by him and the time will be chosen by him, and till he goes into the assault of that, executes that operation, people should not hound him that when is it being conducted,
Right.
how is it being conducted. And this General Khandare was he could tell General Nanavati that, sir, please don't come to my battalion, because the moment you come to my battalion, there is a intelligence which will go across that there's something being planned.
Okay.
He planned and trained his men for good about, I would say, 6 or 7 months. and he had a very capable officer who was leading a team of about 15, 16 men. His name was Amitabh Roy, later retired as a full colonel, and who got a Veer Chakra later on. So Amitabh Roy was the one who led this particular raid. They went into the enemy post. They spent almost about 45 to 50 minutes in the enemy post, destroying their bunkers, eliminating people. There were reinforcements which would come, and that is where assistance from the organization comes, because we had a UAV which was flying on top of the target, which the feed of which was visible to me as a BM, and I could pass it on to the 14 Garhwal that from the southern side or from the northwestern side or from the northeastern side there is a team of about 10 to 12 soldiers coming, and they used to direct their mortar fire. So it was a beautiful synergy of technology, of available resources, and individual bravery, which went into the success of this particular raid that was conducted by 14 Garhwal.
Sir, which year was this?
See, February 2001,
Right.
this Ashok LP incident took place.
Correct.
And October 2001, the
Right.
raid by 14 Garhwal.
So this is
was
a good
conducted.
25 years ago.
Yes.
Yes. And if that is the case, and the deployment of an unmanned aerial vehicle 25 years ago would mean that technology definitely is a non-negotiable part of warfare today, because today we have moved into an era of kinetic wars. 25 years ago, if you're getting signals from an unmanned aerial vehicle, talks volumes about the capability approach of the Indian Defence Forces.
There is no doubt about it. And
Right.
it is 25 years or 30 years back that the Indian Army had started inducting, force multipliers like UAVs, attack hepters,
Right.
etc., in their overall scheme of things. So definitely we have been thinking forward, and that is why Operation Sindoor has been a
Right.
success today.
So instruments, hardware, technological sophistication are critical inputs which determine the outcome of a conflict is something that we need to understand.
Absolutely.
But going back to the incident, sir, because I cannot let go of Ilyas Kashmiri.
Mm.
So you're saying that Ilyas Kashmiri or Major Iqbal, as has been projected in the movie, is an aggregation of a lot of non-state operatives from Pakistan.
Yes.
Right. Whereas the major inspiration for that character was drawn from Ilyas Kashmiri.
Absolutely.
It's not just about training. It's not just about pure muscle. It is about the ideology which separates Indian army from the Pakistani army. Because if I'm not wrong, Indian army would never encourage any action like this or would ever celebrate an anti-Pakistan activity like this. There is a sense of discipline.
You're absolutely correct.
Right.
You're absolutely correct, because when 14 Garhwal was to execute this operation, the commanding officer had given very clear instructions and directions to his men that no Pakistani soldier's body or soldier will be mutilated.
Yes.
Now, this was the thought process of the CO of 14 Garhwal 25 years back.
Right, sir.
Thereafter, I commanded, and I have been in counter-insurgency from 1998 onwards, and I have never even touched a terrorist body with my foot.
Okay.
Now, this is the respect we give to our dead, to not our dead, to a dead body.
Dead body.
Be it of a enemy, be it of a terrorist. So, mutilation of dead bodies is never encouraged, never allowed. So this is the difference in ethos between the two armies.
Which I think also flows from the pacifist creed that our nation is built on, the peace-loving nation that we are.
Yeah.
So, sir, you have written a book, Forged for Triumph, Bahadur Basath, which talks about the gallantry and the courage of 62RR, right? In which you vividly mention about your recollections on operations which took place at Nildora. So, could you take us through that? Because it's a very interesting story, and I would like the viewers to know that.
I'm passionately in love with 62RR, and I treat it as my own child. And when I was raising it, I treated it as if I am raising and rearing my own child. 62RR was raised in June 2004, and we got deployed after about 8 months of training. We were deployed initially for Amarnath Yatra. Thereafter, I took on
Amarnath Yatra, right?
Amarnath Yatra,
Okay.
and thereafter I took on the operational responsibility in South Kashmir, in an area called Bihibag.
Okay.
Now, Bihibag at that time was considered to be a hub of terrorism.
Bihibag.
Bihibag.
Yes, sir. Can you give us a locational understanding of
Yeah,
Bihibag?
Bihibag, as you're driving towards Srinagar, you come to a place called Anantnag.
Yes, sir. Anant.
Now, Anantnag is on the right side of the highway as you're driving towards Srinagar, whereas Bihibag is onto the left side.
Right.
And it is north of Kulgam, because as you're driving on the highway, left side is Kulgam, then it is followed by Bihibag, and then comes Pulwama,
Okay.
and thereafter you come into the area of Kashmir,
Right.
Srinagar. So this unit was deployed over there, and the unit, by the grace of Ma Durga, they performed exceptionally well. And why the need? Why was the need for me to document this particular thing in the form of a book? Is because within 27 months of its operational deployment, the battalion got the Northern Army Commander's appreciation. It earned the Chief's citation, and also a silver trophy for being the best battalion in CI. Now,
Okay.
these three awards that we got, it is something which is outstanding, and the credit totally goes to the soldiers who operated over there. Just to give you a brief on what is Nildora. Nildora is a village in South Kashmir. It falls under the district of Shopian, and South Kashmir is known to be a hub of terrorist activities, and in those particular days, it was Lashkar-e-Toiba, Jaish-e Mohammed, and Hizbul Mujahideen, which were the active terrorist groups over there. So, a very close and source of mine, whom I had a lot of faith in, he gave me a call and he said that there was a group of terrorists which was hiding in village Nildora that particular night. At night, the operation was launched. Until the cordon was established.
At what time was this operation launched, sir? Exactly.
It was launched at about 2 o'clock in the night.
2 o'clock in the night.
2 o'clock in the night.
Okay.
This is a common practice.
Exactly.
And,
that's why I asked you this
yes.
question, sir, because if the operations are launched at the dead of the night,
Yes.
it means that even the enemy is compromised in terms of visibility.
Yes, it does. But then, it has its own difficulties also, which we'll talk later on.
Okay.
But then at night, the operation was launched, and by first light in the morning, or even before first light, the cordons were in place. There was one company which was providing cotton from the north, the other one was providing cotton from the south. And even before the sunlight came in, there was a communication made by the officer who was in charge of the operation that on the north eastern portion of the cotton, some militants fired on the cotton and they managed to escape.
Okay, they fired and they escaped.
They fired and they escaped.
Did that lead to any casualties, sir,
No,
on our side?
No, there was no casualty on our side, and
but they opened fire.
They opened fire. There was an exchange of fire,
Okay.
but the terrorists managed to get away. And what we got over there was a shawl which got stuck in the apple tree.
Oh,
So we had we knew that terrorists have gone in a particular direction.
So you could trace them basically.
Now, the company commander, that is Colonel Tyagi, he asked me for a tracker dog. And a tracker dog was immediately sent. Now, this tracker dog which was sent, it was sent along with a QRT, because you need protection for a vehicle that is moving. And the vehicle in which they went was a Casper vehicle, a mine-protected vehicle. And
So
this
what did you say? Casper vehicle.
Casper vehicle, it is a mine-protected vehicle.
Okay. So
Okay.
even if it goes above a mine, the
Yes,
mine won't
nothing
explode.
happens. Nothing happens.
Okay,
It
that's
is protected.
interesting.
So this dog and the protection party was sent like this in this Casper vehicle. Now, unfortunately, things started going wrong. Basic things started going wrong. When the vehicle reached the cordon, nobody stopped the vehicle, and the vehicle drove through the cordon and went to a high ground. That
Okay.
is where Colonel Tyagi saw the vehicle coming. So he said, "Ki, where is this vehicle coming without my permission? So stop the vehicle." And the vehicle stopped over there. And then he said, "Ki, I have asked for the dog to come to me. So only the dog should get down and come to me."
Okay.
So this
And sir,
vehicle,
where was Colonel Tyagi at that point in time?
he
In
was on the
relation-
northern side of the village.
Okay, so he could see the vehicle.
Yes, it was on a
Okay.
high ground.
Okay.
It had come to a high ground. That
Okay.
this track which goes through village Nildora,
Mhm.
it cuts the village into, or bisects the village into south Nildora and north Nildora.
Right.
So Tyagi was on the northern side.
Right. Okay.
So he said ki the vehicle must stop over there and the dog should come.
Right.
So that is where the QRT got down. And this QRT was
QRT
composed
is quick reaction
quick
team.
reaction team.
Right.
Now this quick reaction team which was sent,
Mhm.
this was of the second in command's quick reaction team. It was
Okay.
not because I was in the battalion, so my quick reaction team was waiting for me to move.
Right.
So the 2IC's quick reaction team was sent. Now this particular team was totally new.
Okay.
We'll talk about the turnover in RR, and then you
Okay.
will understand. So it was a new team which had not seen the village at all. They didn't even know which side the troops were
Mhm.
deployed. So they got down at the high ground and they just took lying position over there. That dog went towards Colonel Tyagi. Now what happened was that slowly the sun started coming up, and
Okay.
from the eastern side, when the sun started coming up, it started illuminating the southern portion of the village,
Okay.
which was on the southern part of the road,
Understood, sir.
and the QRT was on the high ground.
Okay.
Now, in that sunlight, and the crackdown had been ordered. So the crackdown is when you ask the locals to come out and congregate at a particular place. So these locals were moving out, and they had been asked to come and congregate at the Jama Masjid, which was on the western part of the village.
Okay.
So they were slowly coming out and moving
And
towards.
at the western part of the village, the visibility was not as high.
It was not that high.
Right.
So
Understood.
as the sun was illuminating the southern part of the village, this QRT could see people moving,
Right.
the locals moving. And in that row of locals which are moving in the village, this boy in the QRT saw somebody with a weapon. And he opened fire.
Somebody he saw with a weapon, meaning
This QRT saw the
amongst the
locals,
people who had
among the
congregated.
people who were moving
Oh,
in the village.
right,
He
right.
saw some people, or not some people, he saw two people with
With a weapon.
with weapons.
Right.
When he saw them with weapon, he opened fire.
Right.
Now, as I mentioned, that this QRT was totally new.
Mm.
It was composed of people which were new. They did not know the ideology of 62 RR, how it was functioning in CI. So he opened fire. Unfortunately or fortunately, that fire was not effective, and it went above the village.
Okay.
Now, when the fire went above the village, it went overhead the Foxtrot company, which was on the southern side of the village.
Okay.
Now, understand the situation that from the high ground, somebody is firing And the people who are deployed on the southern side of the village, the fire is going on top of their heads.
Right.
And so those people who are deployed on the southern side don't know that a QRT has come inside.
So they feel that they are in the line of fire.
They feel that the terrorists are firing at them.
Exactly. Okay.
So there was an exchange of fire a friendly exchange of fire, which was conceived by the Foxtrot company as a terrorist fire.
As a terrorist fire. Right.
Anyway, this firing took place, and
Right.
again there was no
And
casualty.
since you've mentioned that this QRT was relatively new, this is what you're trying to say, that
Yes,
he should not have opened fire ideally at that point in
at
time.
that point of
Okay.
time, and he was without communication. He
Ex-
did not have communication with the Foxtrot company, which was on the
Okay.
southern side of the village.
Right.
He did not have communication with Colonel Tyagi, who was on the northern side.
But they must have been carrying radio sets.
They
with
were
them, right?
carrying, but they were not on the same frequency.
Okay. Okay.
And
That's another
the people
loophole.
were totally new. So, series of mistakes
Mhm.
took place. Now, what happened was that the terrorists in this firefight, which was ensuing, a friendly firefight which was going on, the terrorists started breaking out from the village, and they started moving towards the western side.
Because the QRT had
because
exposed itself.
QRT had
And
exposed
the
itself.
terrorists therefore making their way,
Yes.
scooting away and
So
using it to their advantage.
They felt
Yeah.
that on the western side, the troops deployment is lesser, or whatever they thought. So they started coming out from there, and they were firing from their weapons. And in that fire, they managed to inflict about 4 casualties on our boys.
Okay.
Those
that's
are fatal
terrible,
casualties.
Terrible.
And we lost, that was very unfortunate. We lost a JCO. We lost the JCO's buddy. So that one buddy pair was ineffective. Another place, there was one Jawan who realized that he's too close to the village. So he tried to withdraw. And in doing so, he exposed himself. He got hit. That was the third casualty. And the fourth casualty was when the terrorists were walking towards the cordon. There was a buddy pair over there. Now, when this exchange of fire was going on, this buddy pair, they fired their complete ammunition that was there in the weapon.
So this buddy pair is what? Is a set of two soldiers?
Two
right?
soldiers.
Okay. Why is it called as a buddy pair? JCU and his
You
buddy
and me
pair.
are
Okay.
buddies. We are deployed together.
At the
We
same
are-
rank.
At the it could be same rank. थोड़ा सा आगे पीछे भी हो सकता है.
Okay. Okay.
ठीक है. But then since they are deployed as pairs, they are
Okay.
called buddy pairs.
Understood, sir.
So this buddy pair, when this fire was going on, this buddy pair also fired, and without realizing, they fired their complete magazine. Now this was something again which was the forte of 62 RR, that is fire control. And here people made a mistake, and they fired their complete ammunition without seeing a terrorist.
Complete ammunition, sir.
Complete ammunition of that magazine.
Okay. So all rounds were fired.
All rounds were fired. Now virtually they were
अब fire
sitting
करने
there.
के लिए कुछ नहीं बचा.
They were sitting there
हाँ.
with their weapon, with a magazine which had no ammunition.
Okay.
They
The
had
worst possible
they had
scenario.
other magazines inside their pouches, but since they were not aware, they just fired in the heat of the moment. They fired and emptied their magazines. When this terrorist, there were 3 terrorists probably who approached this particular buddy pair. So the Sipai Rakesh, who was the person who got martyred, he tried to change his magazine. He fumbled with his pouches to take out the magazine, and that is when the terrorist fired at him and he was killed. Now, his buddy pair was sitting behind Rakesh. His name was Dalbir. Now, when Dalbir saw this, he also pressed his trigger of his weapon, but that magazine was again empty. And the sound of that cold iron hitting the firing pin was heard by the terrorist, and the terrorist actioned at him to keep quiet, and he picked up Rakesh's weapon and walked away. Those terrorists,
Okay.
they picked up the weapon of Rakesh because they
Right.
knew that Rakesh was already overcome by them. So Rakesh's weapon was picked up, and that is when they heard the sound of
So Dalbir was instructed by them to walk away.
They gestured
Okay.
towards Dalbir to keep
Okay.
quiet.
Okay. Okay.
So Dalbir, you can understand, he was a young soldier with 5 years of service. He escaped 100% death because if the terrorist had fired, he would have died.
Right, sir.
So he escaped death, 100% death, and he saw his own body getting killed. He not being able to take any action, so he was a mental wreck thereafter.
Okay.
And when I went to the company and I called him out, so he was trembling, he was stammering, he was he had very high fever because he could not come over that fact that he has seen his own body getting killed, and he saw the terrorists, and yet he could not take any action. So it took him about 2-3 days to overcome this and narrate this entire incident, जिसे हम बोलते हैं आंखों देखा हाल, to the company commander. And once he narrated this entire story, we could piece together what happened in Nildora, and then I, with all this story, I went to my commander and I told him, I said, this is what has happened. It is how this entire operation is unfolded. Mistakes have been committed, mistakes have occurred, and that is why we have had 4 casualties. Incidentally, we managed to kill 1 terrorist also in all this, but then loss of 4 soldiers was tremendous. And that is when we had a chat with now General Katoch, that time Brigadier Katoch. So Brigadier Katoch, that time, he asked me, he said, then you must identify people who need to be punished. So I said, sir, it has been a mistake by almost everyone at every level. So if you have to punish people, then those people who have made mistakes need to be punished. Some of them are not alive. So of all these mistakes, I take collective responsibility. I took it on me. I told him very clearly. I said, sir, I take collective responsibility. And if you want to punish somebody, punish me. And having said that, I left the brigade commander's office, and I do not know what transpired within the brigade staff and the brigade commander, GOC, and the corps commander. But this punishment part was not discussed thereafter. So this is what happened in Nildora. It haunts me even today, as to a unit which was tallying the neutralization tally in Northern Command could suddenly end up as a failure in one operation. One after the other, mistakes were committed, and we failed in our operation.
That is why, sir, we feel that being in the defense forces, because the FIFA World Cup is going on, I would like to take the analogy of a goalkeeper. No matter how much you try, you can save 10 goals, but if just one sneaks past you, you will always be remembered for that.
Yeah.
And therefore, it's a thankless job. At this moment in time, I feel compelled to talk about the psychology of a soldier, sir. This psychological cost that a soldier has to pay, and it's a silent cost that the soldier has to pay. And how do you live with it for so many long years without at least it impacting your service?
See, loss of life is definitely a very, very unfortunate thing. And when you lose your own brethren, own comrade, a person with whom you have been fighting insurgency shoulder to shoulder, and you find that he is died, the first thing which I always inculcated in my troops is that a soldier who has died fighting, we should not shed tears on that. We need to come out stronger after this after a particular soldier has been martyred. We need to come out stronger. We need to avenge his death. And by weeping or crying, we are not going to achieve anything. What we are going to achieve is to come out stronger, strike back, hit back as strongly as possible. Even after this Nildora incident, my aim was to pull out the battalion out of the shell that it had gone in. The entire hierarchy of the general officer commanding, the corps commander, everybody had changed. Even the army commander had changed. So I had to pull these people out. I had to bounce back. I had to make sure that these people get into the grid once again and they start performing. So I changed my way of talking to them. I induced them into operations. I made an effort that every operation that they went in, I would make myself available over there, right from the beginning till the end. And that is how these efforts paid rich dividends. And within 3 months, we were back into action. And in the balance, about 5 months, because I was also completing about 2.5 years of command, so I knew that my posting would come. And before that, this posting came, I wanted to redeem myself out of this particular thing. So before I left in those 6 months or so, uh, there were about 27 odd terrorists which were eliminated by Bahadur Basath.
Oh,
So that is how I rekindled their, you know, their
morale.
morale,
Yeah.
and I brought them back into action, and the battalion
तो जैसा कहते हैं कि
did well.
गिरते हैं शेर सवार ये मैदानी जंग में वो तिफ्र क्या गिरे जो घुटनों के बल चले. हालांकि you revived your unit. That is exactly my question is. You revived your unit, institutional capacity was brought back. 27 terrorists in the process were eliminated. And you helped your unit stand on its feet and gain lost prestige also, by the way. But then again, at an individual level, does it take a psychological toll on you? Or at the end of the day, when you've given so much to your company, does that empty your own tank at an individual level?
Definitely, definitely does. And as I said, that nildora haunts me even today. I feel angst, and I feel so helpless that why did this happen? I at times, curse myself that why couldn't if the input had come from such an important source, I should have made myself available. But then, being present over there, uh, would my presence had it changed the course of what finally came out? It is something which is difficult to say, but it is unfortunate, and I still get haunted by Operation Nildora.
Sir, because you talk about regretful unfolding of sequences here, which led to the, one can say, the collapse of the operation at Nildora. You mentioned something about turnover time for the QRT. Could you enlighten us more about
Yeah.
that?
See, this is very important to understand. So when an infantry battalion goes into a field area, it fights, whether it is insurgency or it is deployed on the line of control or it is doing something else. It does that activity as an infantry battalion.
Okay.
Okay. But that is not the same in RR. RR battalion is composed of troops which are from infantry, which are from artillery, which are from EME, from AMC, from Jammu and Kashmir light infantry, and whole lot of Indian army. So these people cannot remain in insurgency throughout their lives. So because RR battalions are mandated for JNK only, they will remain over there. So to relieve the people, a turnover schedule is worked out, where a person who has served for 2.5 years is relieved by another new person. So this is called turnover. And since my battalion was raised in June, sometime in November, December, the 2.5 years in November, December 2006, 2.5 years was getting completed. So the time for turnover had come.
Okay.
The turnover is at such a speed that if you don't visit a company for 2 months, you will find that about 40 or 35 to 40% people have changed.
Why so, sir?
People have to be changed.
Right.
The old people have to, who have spent
Okay.
2.5 years, have to move out,
Have to be replaced.
and new people have to come in their
Right.
place. So
Okay.
that is what I mean by turnover.
Okay.
That old people move out and new people come in,
Okay.
and that is
So
why
it's like an assembly line.
it is like an assembly line. Yes.
Okay.
And I had devised a process in which I used to visit. I mentioned earlier also, I used to visit the companies every month, and I used to spend about 2 or 3 days. I used to spend at the company. I used to, conduct my selling some million over there, and one day was given to brainstorming. I used to get everybody together, and I used to talk to them on various aspects. I used to tell them the mistakes which were conducted in previous operations. A successful operation does not mean that there are no mistakes. Even a successful operation has certain mistakes. So unless you highlight, and आप जब तक ट्रूप्स को अवगत नहीं कराएंगे उससे, वो कैसे अपने आप को सुधारेगा. So I used to narrate these particular mistakes to the troops and warn them, do not repeat these things. And that is how, and the troops also liked these sessions because they found that they are a better and a richer person after listening to me and after hearing the mistakes that were committed by other people, and they were better prepared for fighting another battle. So this turnover takes place. Now the turnover takes place at such a speed that if you don't visit a company for 2 months, you will find that about 37 to 40% people have turned over.
Right.
Now the new man who comes, unless you go and speak to him and speak your mind to him, how will you know what is expected out of him?
Right.
So 2 months before Operation Nildora, somehow the events conspired, and this visit to the company could not be conducted. Now, why it could not be conducted was that my brother was suffering from cancer, and he passed away. So I had taken leave for to go to my hometown and be at his side, and thereafter, after his demise, I had to stay there for some time. And that is the period when the colonel of the regiment visited me. There are other activities, other VIPs who were visiting the battalion, and my 2IC was involved in conducting them. So he also could not visit the companies. So 1 month gone. Thereafter, I joined the battalion, and I found that the GOC was new, who wanted to understand the ground situation in the area that I was operating in. So I was busy with conducting him, apprising him, familiarizing him with the terrain. So that month again I could not go. So 2 months I could not visit the companies, and that made all the difference. The QRT which went over there did not know the ethos on which I had raised 62RR, and things went absolutely berserk over there.
Suffice to say that, sir, that the Defense Forces of India, it is a very well-oiled machine, and it has to operate and function like a machine. We commonly hear about Lashkar-e-Taiba, right? Al-Qaeda, Jaish-e-Mohammed, Indian Mujahideen. So when we speak of these non-state actors and terrorist outfits, how do they operate? Is there some sort of communication amongst them, or do they operate as individual units who have got nothing to do with each other? Or is there a way of sharing information amongst them? Are they also a well-oiled machinery?
No, they are not a well-oiled machinery. All these terrorist organizations are operating in their own space.
in their own silos.
in their own silos, in their own space.
Okay.
There was an effort made by the terrorists prior to Nildora, where that particular night there were three tanzims. There were terrorists of three tanzims in that village.
Sir, what is a tanzim?
Tanzim is Lashkar Toba as one tanzim.
Okay, an outfit is a tanzim.
Outfit. So there were terrorists of three tanzims in that village. Probably, we are not very sure, but intelligence reports indicated that probably there was some sort of a inter-tanzim, collaboration that was being tried out over there.
Okay.
But since Operation Nildora was conducted and the terrorists had to scoot from there, they realized that it may not work. So these people are operating in their own silos. They are not coordinating things at any higher level or at a umbrella level. There is no organization which is controlling them.
Okay.
Yes, it is being controlled by ISI, but ISI is not integrating them into a cogent force.
So these are individual hired mercenaries unleashed upon India by the ISI.
Yes.
Okay.
And what happens is that each tanzim has its own ideology. Somebody says that, okay, we will, hit the tourists which are coming to Kashmir. Somebody says, no, it should not be done. They are giving us, a lot of revenue. Similarly, they've got different ideologies. So now the foreign element has almost dried up in Kashmir. It is only the local terrorists who are operating, and these local terrorists, yes, they must be having some. They are having some connection with their people across the border, but most of them are operating independently, either extorting money or a cheap thrill that they are getting by wielding a gun. So that is how they are operating, and that is why it is becoming all the more difficult to find them, because their quantity and numbers are dwindling.
Okay, so parallels can be drawn with an organized crime unit here. And at this juncture, sir, I would like to ask, historically, they have been a source of a lot of inflection, a source of a lot of, one can say, collapse of peace. Where is it that they have an upper hand? Is it in terms of the, one can say, the invisible and the autonomous nature in which they operate? Is it because of sophisticated weaponry supplied to them by state actors? Is it because of information and local level knowledge? What do you think helps them the most?
Okay, very important question. See, these terrorists which are operating, first of all, you must understand the method of operating of a terrorist and a soldier. A soldier is a disciplined person, part of a disciplined organization altogether. No matter how much of leeway you give him, he is still under that ambit of discipline. A terrorist can walk into a village and eliminate a local without any answerability, whereas the same thing cannot be done by a soldier.
Right.
Okay. So this is where a basic difference comes between the two. The other thing is that because of this power that he has of eliminating anybody he feels like at will, he has unconditional support of the locals, because the locals start getting scared of him. That is why at night when they knock on somebody's door, if the locals don't open the door, in those days they would just break the door and get inside. So the locals are terrified and scared of these people. At the same time, when a soldier goes over there, and if he goes to a local's house, he may not open the door at a
Right.
at a uncongenial time of night.
Right.
Of the night. So this is the difference between a soldier and a terrorist. So a terrorist, acts with impunity, at will. Whatever comes to his mind, he does that, and this particular thing draws him into the terrorist ranks because he gets this impunity that once he's wielding a gun, he can do whatever he feels like. He can walk into anybody's house. He can haul up anybody. He can eliminate anybody. He starts considering himself next to God.
So I would say that terrorism's ideology is no ideology. It is a vacant,
are-
empty, shallow rhetoric.
Terrorist ideology is absolutely vacant.
Absolutely vacant.
Absolutely vacant.
Right, sir.
They will say that they are fighting insurgency, and a person who dies in combat will go to Jannat and wear 72 hoods. Who has seen the Jannat? Who has seen those 72 hoods? So it is
And-
totally khokla.
So what's your take on? Of course, I mean it's a very questionable and a radical ideology of Ghazwa-e Hind. ये तो हमें पता ही है कि this is not going to work out.
It will not work.
But then people who enlist in this life-threatening activities, these are common people who eventually go on to become terrorists. How do you convince somebody of something so radical, so extremist as a Ghazwa-e Hind ideology, where you know that you will eventually lay down your life in return for what? In return for almost nothing. Is it just poverty? Is it just lack of education that becomes the catalyzing factor for enlisting these people or men into terrorist organizations?
Yeah, it is. One is that brainwashing.
Right.
Brainwashing is of these people begins
क्या
at a
होता है
very
सर ये
lower level.
brainwashing? ऐसा क्या हो जाता है?
Brainwashing is, you see the Twin Towers which was brought down.
Right.
After all, they were educated people
Yes.
who were flying the aircraft.
Yeah, it was a pilot.
It was he
Yes.
he knew how to fly aircraft. He was an
aircraft,
educated
right.
person, but yet he was brainwashed. He was told that if you join the militant ranks, terrorist ranks, and you do this particular activity, you will be rewarded by the God. You will be rewarded by God, and when you go back, you will get A, B, C, D things, whatever it is.
Sir, my question is that if that is the case, now here I want to theorize a little. Pakistan is not not the only Muslim majority country in the world. It is Indonesia. It is, of course, Saudi, Qatar, and so many other nations like Malaysia. But we see terrorism or Pakistan being the hotbed of terrorism, being the sanctuary of terrorism. Why Pakistan is, my common sense tells me that probably it's because of poverty, because of lack of financial empowerment. It is because of debilitating life conditions which push people towards these acts.
To some extent, yes, poverty does push a person because lack of education is the other thing. He knows that he is not going to do well in life, so let me join the terrorist ranks. At least I'll get some money from here. I
Right.
will wield the gun, and whatever money I get, I'll support my family. The other thing is population. I have realized I've spoken to a lot of Kashmiris, parents of local terrorists. Now they have got about 6, 7, 8 children. Now one of them leaves them and goes with the terrorists. When you ask him, ki, bhai, call your son back. You are in communication with him. Why don't you call him back? He said, "Koi baat nahi tha." He's so complacent about it. And he feels that he's gone in the service of God. Even if he goes, I've got the balance of my children along with me. So it is that blind faith which is driving them. And again, I would say lack of education, poverty combined, which is driving these people into this particular sort of lifestyle.
So this is especially important coming from an decorated veteran like you that it is poverty and education, and it is not necessarily religion, which should
Poverty
be
and lack of education.
lack of education, and not necessarily religion, which is mistakenly conflated with terrorism a lot, and which is also used as a weapon to divide people within the country as well. So it would suit us to understand that it is life conditions and the ecosystem which determines our actions. So that's one thing. Another thing that brings me to the next question is the heartwarming story of reverse indoctrination, which you shared with me previously while we were having a dialogue. Could you share that with our viewers, sir? Wherein you managed to change a young boy's, outlook towards life, and also bring him back into the mainstream of the society.
When I took the battalion to Behebag,
Right.
which was my battalion headquarters.
Behbag is, sir,
It's a
location.
small town. As
Kahan
I
hai, sir,
told
ye?
you, that as you
Huh.
go towards Srinagar,
Ji.
on the road which is going from Jammu to Srinagar,
Ji.
you come to a place called Anandrag.
Right.
Anandrag is on the right side of the road, and Behebag is on the left side of the road.
Okay.
So when I took the battalion to Behebag, we deployed, and our battalion headquarters was located at a particular place. There was a barbed wire fencing around it, and across the barbed wire fence was a village which was called Sempura.
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 Okay.
Sempura. Pora. Now, Sempura mein, when we were carrying out a census of boys and young people who were missing, we found that there was a boy who was missing, and the locals said he has joined the terrorist ranks. When we asked the parents, so his father was, he also narrated the same story. However, his grandfather was not convinced, and he spoke a different language. He said कि नहीं साहब, वो मिलिटेंट के साथ गया ज़रूर था, लेकिन वो मिलिटेंट बना नहीं है. But he had no proof. We kept pestering. I kept visiting the house of that particular house number of times, requesting the father to come out, and because it is not possible that his son has gone away, joined the militant ranks, and he doesn't even know where he is. Must be that he is talking to him. But his father maintained one particular line. One day what happened was that...
Father or grandfather, sir?
Father.
Father.
He maintained that he has become a terrorist. Is gone.
Okay.
So one day one woman came to meet me, and this woman said that this boy is there in the house. This boy is there in the house, the boy who was proclaimed as a terrorist. So I mobilized my people, and since it was so close to the battalion headquarters, within about 15-20 minutes, we were able to coordinate. And then we found that that boy was not there. And the input given by the source was also not correct, because she said that he is having his food over there. And when we went and found out, there were no extra food was not made. There were no utensils in which he was and anybody else was having food. So I again went the next day to the house. I spoke to the father again. And then I spoke with the grandfather separately. So the grandfather, while talking to him, he gave me a telephone number. And he said कि बहुत दिन पहले इस telephone number से उसको phone आया था. So I took that telephone number and I gave it to my intelligence officer. I said, just trace out this number. By evening, I got the details, and my intelligence officer told me that, sir, this belongs to a restaurant in Jammu. And he says that in the restaurant, there are 3 people who are employed as workers. One of them matches the description of this boy. So, dots were getting connected. And at the same time, my Ghatak had gone to another village. Now, JNK mein...
What is a Ghatak, sir?
Ghatak is a group of people, and they are grouped under a thing called a Ghatak platoon.
Okay.
It is a subunit of the unit, and the best of the people are chosen by the commanding officer and put over there, and they are supposed to do very well. And my Ghataks was doing exceptionally well. So this Ghatak had gone to another village where a local boy approached them and said कि साहब वो मिल्टन नहीं है, वो जम्मू में कहीं पे काम करता है. He is not willing to come back on his own because he fears that the law enforcing agencies are going to eliminate him. So he wants to remain there only. His parents are also in touch with him, but they don't want to call him back because they are scared of this. So I again called the father and the grandfather. I said, Ki I'm giving you my word. This boy will not be touched. I will get him here. I will hand him over to you. But you lead me to this boy. The parents were just not budging. But when I got all these details and I came to know where he is working, I immediately hired a sumo. I took a team from the company which was co-located with my battalion headquarters. And with the grandfather, I sent them to Jammu because that grandfather going along with the team was important.
Because he had conviction.
He had conviction and he had to provide legality in
Right.
getting the boy back.
Right.
I couldn't have lifted a boy
Mhm.
from a tea stall or a
Right.
dhaba and brought him over here. So that grandfather gave me that immunity and legality.
Right.
So when I went over there, when this party reached over there, and when this boy saw his grandfather, they both wept profusely, and immediately they were put in the vehicle and brought to the battalion to Behbag. Next day, I organized a cordon search of Sempura,
Okay.
where I asked all the civilians and the ladies to come and sit at one place. And then I addressed them. I said, Ki, you are, what sort of villagers are you? अपने भाई को आप लोगों ने टेररिस्ट बना दिया. You have disposed of an individual who was not a terrorist as a terrorist. Reason for this was that he was not traceable. And somebody saw him going with the terrorist, so you assume that he has become a terrorist. The parents are continuously talking with that boy and yet not willing to get him back, and living with the idea that their son has become a terrorist.
Right.
So I told all these things to the villagers, and then I said, I have brought this boy back. And then I brought this boy in front of them. The sight was to be seen. It is to be seen to be believed. The moment this boy came, the congregation of men and ladies of the village, which was sitting on the other side, his own two sisters were sitting over there. They just ran from there and came and hugged him. And I'm sure this boy would still be there in the village.
Fantastic, sir.
So
that's
this was a display of, my motto was an iron fist in velvet glove. So iron fist was used to eliminate terrorists, and the velvet glove was a display of uniting this boy with the family.
Lovely, sir, which you mentioned in your book also.
Yes.
Right. Should there be an institutional mechanism within the army to be able to display such social sensitivity? Because this was on your accord, you did it on your accord. Do you think that there should be some bit of, one can say, training even for professionals within the army to display such sort of social appreciation, and to also extend or to be accessible to the local population? So for my question is it encouraged within the army, first of all? And secondly, if not, then should we have such mechanisms?
It is definitely encouraged in the army. And
Okay.
there are a lot of programs of this type which are conducted. There was a unit which was conducting a similar program which was called Little Hearts.
Okay.
Those biscuits used to come
Okay.
in little hearts.
Right, sir.
The name was taken from there, Little Hearts. Now, these people are very poor who are there in J&K. And the children are born with a lot of congenital ailments.
Okay.
So this Little Hearts was a program which was conducted by the CEO of a unit, where they picked up children who had cardiac ailments, acute cardiac ailments. Children who had a hole in the heart, who had a deformed, some artery or something, and they collected those people. They got them tested at the local hospital, and then they tied up with institute, a medical institute in Jalandhar, where these children were sent, and their ailments were treated. So such type of activities go on in J&K by the unit. They are conducted by the units, and there are n number of them, n number of them. So there is a system where these type of activities are encouraged. There are funds allotted for it. The senior officers encourage them, encourage the units to do these things, and they are being done.
So, sir, speaking of counter-insurgency operations, you must have come face to face with a lot of terrorists also. Could you share some combat experiences where you came to face with this beast called as a terrorist? क्योंकि हमारे मन में तो एक आइडिया है, एक धारणा है कि terrorist, मगर you have directly interacted or combated with the terrorists. So, few instances, sir.
Certain combat experiences with terrorists. We were conducting an operation in a village called Renipura. Now, once again, the input given to us was quite hard and genuine. And the day we got this input, we were already conducting an operation in a village where we had successfully eliminated or neutralized 3 terrorists. We got input of this village Naugam. So there was an officer by the name of Major Gaurav, whom I had deputed to move over there. So Gaurav went over there, and the presence of the terrorists was established. There was a brief firefight, and by the time I reached over there, the firing from inside the house had stopped. Now, the question of flushing the terrorists
कितने
out,
बजे की बात होगी ये?
this happened during the daytime.
In the daytime.
Yeah,
Okay.
during the daytime. It was during summers in J&K. So the summers are also quite scorching over there. But we mobilized over there, and we were in the process of cordoning the house, or rather thickening up the cordon which Major Gaurav had already placed over there. And after carrying out my recce, as I was walking in a very narrow lane, I was walking, and I was followed by my Subedar Major, and thereafter behind him was my own buddy, and then it was Major Gaurav and his entourage. So as they were coming towards behind the house where we were supposed to prepare an explosive and keep it in the house to flush out the terrorist, I heard the click of a grenade. And as I looked up in the air, I saw a grenade coming towards me. It all happened in a second, or maybe less than a second. But today, it revolves, and I recollect it in slow motion.
Right, sir. That is what
Yeah.
invariably happens with us.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
I saw that grenade coming, and the first thought which came to my mind is, let me catch the grenade and throw it back.
Right.
But then, as I saw it in air, it was an Israeli manufactured grenade, and I knew that it has
So you could make out.
yeah,
the
from
manufacturer
the
also?
yes, from the make of or the structure of the grenade, I can make out.
From what
one could.
distance was it lobbed at you, sir?
It was lobbed from about 5-6 meters.
Okay, and you could make it out while it was in the air.
While it was
That
in the air, yes, you can make out, because
Okay.
Indian grenades are of a different type, Pakistani grenades are of a different kind, Chinese grenades are of a different type, and this particular grenade was Israeli grenade.
That is a testament to the field experience that you have.
Yes.
ये चीजें सीखा ही नहीं जा सकता.
So the first thought was to catch the grenade and throw it back. But then, since it was Israeli grenade, I knew that it has a fuse of 4 seconds, and it will definitely go off in 4 seconds, and that much of time I didn't have. So I just shouted to caution everybody that there's a grenade, and I jumped across. I tried to jump across with my Subedar Major following me. And as I jumped across to the other side, The grenade hit me on the heel and rolled into the lane,
Okay.
where it ultimately exploded. Although we had by then jumped on the other side, and me and my Zodar Major were safe. But in the wake of this grenade, these two terrorists made a escape from the house.
And sir, were you
And
injured, or what was the extent of your
no,
injury?
I did not get injured by
Okay.
the grenade, but by virtue of falling on the other side where
Mhm.
a wall had been collapsed, and bricks were lying over there, I did get slightly injured as far as sprain in the ankle is concerned. But the terrorists, they broke out from the house into that narrow lane, and the people behind my Subedar Major, since I had shouted, they turned back and tried to run back into the same narrow alley. Unfortunately, the terrorists who had escaped from the village, from the house, they came into this narrow lane and they started throwing more grenades,
Okay.
which led to my buddy who was following the Sudar Major getting killed, and one more boy of Gaurav's uh, QRT who got killed. As they came out, the terrorists were firing, and Gaurav had taken hide in a broken toilet which was next to the lane. The terrorists came and stood in front of him, and uh, Gaurav fired at him. As luck would have it, the weapon did not fire. Gaurav cocked his weapon once again and fired again. Again, the weapon did not fire. But it happened in a few seconds. That was enough for the terrorist to move from there. And while moving, he saw a police party sitting outside. He fired at the police party, and he managed to inflict a casualty there on the police, a fatal casualty. Anyway, all this happened, and my own buddy was killed. One more boy from Gaurav's QRT was killed. One policeman was killed. And when I tried to regain command and control, I asked Gaurav as to what has happened. So he mentioned what I just mentioned. He told me the incident, the sequence of things, how they happened. So I was extremely annoyed. I said, "Kya?" And because AK-47 is a weapon which generally doesn't fail.
Right.
So I said, Ki, show me those misfired rounds. And it was, very sad on my part to have asked him a proof,
Mhm.
because Gaurav was a company commander who would never tell a lie. However, he went back to the broken toilet, and he brought those two rounds, and I saw the indent at the base of the two rounds. They were actually misfires.
This is pure bad luck, sir,
It was
because
pure bad luck. It was
AK-47
pure
is
bad
known
luck.
for its reliability.
It's known for reliability, but it did happen. And I still feel bad that I asked that question from Gaurav, that show me those rounds. I wanted a proof
Mhm.
that what he was saying was correct. Uh, Today I'm smiling on that, because though we suffered casualty, but in a month's time we managed to eliminate both these terrorists and one more accomplice of theirs
Fantastic.
uh, in another village. And how I'm seeing the same terrorist is because Gaurav had seen him at very close quarters.
Okay.
And Gaurav was also part of that operation. So when the terrorist was neutralized, Gaurav said, "Ki, this is the one who had fired at me." So that was one, close combat. The other thing I would like to, highlight over here is that, with 62 RR doing so well over there, having eliminated three tanzims, the terrorists wanted to teach 62 RR a lesson. And the best way to do that was to target the commanding officer. So the general officer commanding also warned me, and I was on my way out. I was getting posted out. So I was being called by COs of neighboring units for either a lunch or a dinner or something. So I used to be on the move all through. So the general officer commanding of Victor Force, he warned me. He said, "Ki you are again and again you are coming up in intercepts, and it's slightly getting risky. So restrict your movement."
So your calls were being intercepted and
Perhaps
communication
my
was
calls were
compromised.
not my calls were getting intercepted. It was the terrorist calls which are getting intercepted, through
Oh,
which they were
okay.
coming to know that they are targeting me. They are going to target me.
Okay, okay. It was in fact the other way
Other
around.
way around.
That we were able to intercept the
Yes,
communication between the
between
terrorists
the terrorists.
who were apparently, who were apparently planning to,
Target
nail
me.
you, target you.
Target me.
Right.
So that particular day,
And
I
you
had
were, by the way, cautioned by your commander?
by my general officer commanding and the commander both.
Okay, okay.
But I was also on my way out, and I felt that even if a terrorist comes in front of me, me and my QRT will be able to handle
Right.
the terrorist. So that was the type of confidence I had gained. So I was returning from Shopian after lunch with 44 RR when I passed a particular road junction where a man was talking on mobile. Those days, mobile had started coming in, so there was nothing new or amiss. But suddenly, it struck me that why is this person suddenly, after seeing my vehicle pass, has raised his hand, is talking on mobile?
Mhm.
But I still moved on. I came to the company where Gaurav was, but since Gaurav was not there, I spent about half an hour over there and I moved ahead. As I moved ahead, there was a small bridge which we had to cross. And as we crossed the bridge and the front vehicle was laboring up on the slope, I could hear a lot of firing of weapon from outside. Inside the vehicle, I could not hear it very clearly because of the engine sound, and it was a bulletproof
The
vehicle.
fact
So
that it was a bulletproof
yes,
vehicle.
so but I saw the front vehicle, which was my protection vehicle. The person who was sitting in the cupola was trying to, get inside. So I came to know that we are under fire. So I told that boy, I said, "You get down, get inside the vehicle, and move ahead." And we also moved ahead. And after moving for some distance, we stopped and came out. Uh, and we rushed to that place from where the terrorists would have fired. So by then, the terrorists had scooted, because this is one way the terrorists operate, is that they don't hold ground. They fire and then they run for their lives. So by the time we reached over there was no terrorist over there, but we could find about 14, 15 fired cases. So we knew that a number of terrorists were there and they had escaped from there. So that was an ambush, which uh, I was saved because of the bulletproof vehicle. And again, this was during the daytime. It was in broad daylight, and we drove our vehicles back to Bihibag, to my unit. We stopped in front of the mandir, and when we assessed the situation, we found that about 4 bullets had hit my vehicle, and one bullet had hit the windscreen also. So that is how life goes on in a RR battalion.
And thanks to
And
armored vehicles.
yeah, thanks to the bulletproof vehicles, armored
Right.
vehicles, and thanks to Almighty, that Almighty was there with me.
Thank you so much for, giving us an insight into what a soldier's life is on ground actually is. Since Shaurya is about the valor and courage of our soldiers, which is on display, which has been adequately portrayed and talked about and written about. But the silent crusaders are the members of the family. The pillars of strength are the members of the family. And their valor and courage should also not go unnoticed. What are your views on that, sir?
You have touched a very pertinent question, and the families of the soldiers who are deployed in such active areas do go through a very, very difficult time. They know that their husbands are deployed in an active counter-insurgency or an active area where a bad news can come anytime, because a bullet does not know whom it is aimed at. I'll give you example of my wife. When I mobilized 62 RR, my wife is from a civilian background. She did not know much about the history or geography of J&K or Kashmir. So when I mobilized 62 RR, those were 2000, sometime in the middle of 2005. The militant activities was quite high, and very often there used to be ID explosions, bomb blasts, and the news used to be immediately on the TV that so many soldiers killed or so many people killed, so many civilians killed. And my wife had no clue where I was. She just knew that I have mobilized to Jammu and Kashmir. The moment she used to see this news about a ID explosion or a bomb explosion, that insecurity in her mind would come into her
Right.
forefront.
It's like a sword of Damocles.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, hearing that, she would know where this place explosion has taken place, where am I located, what is the interstate distance, how far am I. She would assume that ऐसा तो नहीं कि ये फंस गया है इसमें. She would give me a call, and once I would pick up the call, she would say कि I just wanted to
Purpose
check
is solved.
where you are and this and that. Take
Right.
care, all the best. So the ladies, they are uh, silently they suffer a lot. This is a fear that they can't share with their children. They can't share with their relatives. They can't share this with anybody. So they have to live with this fear alone and battle this fear alone. Uh, when alone they're facing these problems alone, and when there are social obligations where a soldier is supposed to represent and participate in those social commitments, these ladies are doing this on behalf of the soldier without the soldier coming without the soldier coming to know about it. So they are completing all the social obligations that a soldier is supposed to do. They look after the family, they look after the children, they look after the near family, they look after the enlarged family also, and without any uh,
Awards
without
or
any
rewards, I would
awards
say.
and rewards. So I would say that they are doing a great service to the nation by not letting the soldier down morally,
Right.
and letting him fight or do his, I wouldn't say fight, but to let him do his duty
Contribution, yeah.
without any sort of pressure. So that is something which is unique about the army.
So, which is at this point, I want my viewers to also understand that thankfully in India, we have now noticed and we have identified that widowed, the widows of our martyred soldiers, mothers, sisters, and the family, um, they should receive adequate state support, and they are receiving adequate state support. But that still does not mean that soldiers who are active on the field, their families do not suffer. Their families also suffer. And it's silent suffering, as Sir has mentioned. When we celebrate war, we have to be cognizant of the fact that every celebration of war comes with a price. Do we as a nation, do we as a civil society, or should we rather be the cheerleaders of war? The unfortunate narrative in today's society is geared towards witnessing war as a spectacle. It is not a spectacle for the soldiers and their families, or rather, the families whose sons and daughters and brothers are on the front line. And war is a necessary evil which can only be triggered when diplomacy fails. The failure of diplomacy could be the reason for the activation of a warlike scenario. You have been a part of counter-insurgency operations, and we have commissioned women officers in our Air Force as combat pilots. But when it comes to the Army, what is your viewpoint on the induction of women soldiers as combatants on front lines? Because that has, in my opinion, in my limited understanding, I think that has been a non starter, not just in India, but the world over. So, commissioning of women as combatants on the front line in the Army, your view, sir?
Ladies are joining the army world over. India also, there are a large number of ladies, and they are doing a good job. The two lady soldiers who were doing the press briefing during Operation Sindoor are an example. They were second to none.
Right.
And they were addressing, they used to address a media conference which was telecast globally. So the ladies of the Indian defense services are second to none. But your question is that whether ladies should be there in combat arms or not.
Yes, sir.
Well, there are certain things which need to be understood. One is the physiological differences between a man and a woman.
Yes.
They are not going to change. They are going to remain where they are. The second thing is what is expected from a lady soldier. Is she able to, or is she willing to deliver those roles or not? So these are two divergent things. Now tomorrow, with the changes in the socio-economic setup of the country, if the ladies feel that they can be comfortable uh, in the company of men, where her privacy is not intruded upon and she is not worried about her privacy, things might change, because our world is changing so fast that today we cannot dream as to what is going to happen the next day or in coming future. So things might change, the outlooks might change, and the ladies may be willing to take on combat roles.
So if I may interject here, right? A lot of my female students, they have evinced interest and they understand the demands, the rigorous demands, the physical demands of being on the front lines. In India's case, the front line itself is a challenge. It is not just a front line in terms of the enemy, it is a front line in terms of how geographically challenging it is. It could be Siachen Glacier, right? It could be Jaisalmer. So when you speak of how a lady's privacy, say suppose separate washrooms, right? Facilities for women in case they have some menstruation going on. We There is a contrasting view which states that the argument of national security over gender equality takes precedence. Because in the army, it is said that it's first the nation, then your buddy, and then it's you. So if your buddy gets injured, who could be, as you said, naturally ordained differences are there, who is suppose 70 kgs and you are 45, 50 kgs, then would you be able to carry your buddy to safety? That's first. Second, would you be getting that privacy at a border post like Siachen,
Exactly.
right? Should the government be also burdened with the added responsibility, right? Now, burden is a wrong word here, but for the lack of vocabulary, I'm using it. So, there are contrarian points which suggest that women and their, one can say, their induction into the combat roles, especially in a country like India, which has treacherous borders, is a very, very hugely contested issue. And as you rightly pointed out, it's a complex issue to find answers, sir. And therefore I reached out to you because my thoughts are also evolving on the subject. But yes, I think it's a good start that we have combatants in the Indian Air Force. With respect to Indian Army, sir, uh, I feel that peace at the border is the first precondition.
See, I would further qualify my statement by saying that uh, you know, b- a woman soldier's role in the Air Force is very different to that in the army.
Right, sir.
A woman in a fighter pilot is a lone entity in a cockpit.
Right, sir.
Maybe if she is flying a transport aircraft, she may be having another co-pilot.
Right, sir.
But we are talking of combat.
Combat.
So in a fighter, as a fighter pilot, she is alone in the cockpit.
Right, sir.
She is not hassled by people around her. But in infantry, when she is there, as you said, in whether it is on Siachen or it is in Jaisalmer, she is in the company of 10 more men or maybe few more men. Now, a good touch or a bad touch is something which is taught to a lady and a girl right from the beginning. Now, when you're walking at night doing patrolling, somebody might brush against you. It may be intentional, it may not be intentional. But then, how do you identify whether it was intentional or not intentional? This lady who's alone amongst say 10 people, uh, does she feel comfortable? So these are questions. Administrative issues can be taken care of. That's not a problem thing. The problem thing is that the lady should be comfortable.
So the question was based on the premise that the lady is comfortable. She wants to.
Today, no,
She wants to be thrust into an environment like that
yes,
willingly. What do you
yes.
say to that?
When you see ladies walking on the road, a lady is very careful that nobody should brush her, uh, while crossing the road or overtaking or in a traffic situation. She's very concerned about that, and she's conscious about it. Now, this thought process will go with her in combat also, and that is where her adjustment in the section or in the platoon will cause a problem.
Sir, is our selection process not rigid enough or efficient enough to identify women who can adjust? Are we saying that we are incapable of selecting women
No,
who display
no.
that attitude?
I am not saying that. And that is why I qualified my answer by saying that tomorrow a situation may come where the women are willingly ready to accept uh, operating along with the men, whether it is patrolling at night, getting brush with other soldiers, either by mistake or due to terrain factors. So a situation may come where the female itself is willing to accept that. It's a very happy situation. Uh, we are most welcome to.
But sir, why in the future? I mean, I have had the privilege and honor of teaching so many students, and a lot of female students have expressed their willingness and desire to be a part of the services. So why is the time not ripe yet?
See, willingness of a lady to serve in challenging atmosphere or environment is one thing, and when she is put in that situation, and her reaction to the rigors of that particular environment are two different things.
So what I understand is that when you talk about women's commissioning into combat roles, there is still a bit of uncertainty.
At the moment,
Yes.
things might change,
Okay.
and if they change for good, they are most welcome.
But how do you find what is the barometer to find out whether things have changed for good or not?
See, it has to start. Uh,
Because in all possible roles, we already have women, sir.
Yeah.
It
So
is
it has
only
to
at the front
start
lines.
as a test bed somewhere.
Okay.
And if the test bed proves positive,
Right.
then it has to be enlarged to a slightly larger area. So we have to make small steps. And these small steps can indicate whether they can be inducted in the large scale or not. But that beginning has to be made. That there has to be a mind shift of both the male counterpart as well as the female counterpart.
So, for the benefit of the viewers, I would like to reiterate what Sir is saying here. He is of the opinion that the time is not ripe yet, but given the fact that the society is becoming more and more progressive, within a generation or two, we will come to a stage where naturally ordered differences will not become a barrier for, one can say, the execution of job by men and women at the battlefield, at combat lines. Remember that this discussion is only restricted to front lines and forward lines, not about all the other roles which are already open to women.
Yes.
With your permission, sir, I would like to add some sociological input here. I was reading a paper. Now, I don't, for the life of me, I don't remember the uh, name of the journal, but it also suggested something called as a prisoner of war scenario.
Mhm.
A country like India, if a woman is posted and if unfortunately lands up in a situation where
In
she
the
is a
hands of
prisoner
the
of
enemy.
war, do you or should we expect our enemy neighbors and their army to treat her with the same dignity and with the same respect that we generally treat our enemies? And not just that, once she comes back, if she manages to come back, would the society treat her the same way? Because the Indian society is still in a traditional mindset where if a woman has crossed the threshold, in any case or modesty has been outraged,
Mistreated.
would there be would there be society's willingness to mainstream her? That's a very big question that the
A very
society
big question.
needs to ask itself. Also, there's one more thing that, because it is a matter of national security, Indian border, sir, I think you'll agree, is not a very normal border. It is one of the most porous borders
Porous
in the world.
borders. Yes.
It is We are surrounded by Pakistan, we are surrounded by China, with whom we have had a history of wars. Plus, it runs along the Trans Himalayan range. It runs along the Thar Desert. It runs along even the dense forests of Myanmar and Manipur, right?
Meghalaya,
Meghalaya,
Bangladesh.
right? And these forests are denser than Amazonian
Yes,
rainforest.
yes.
So when you have a border like that, and when you're dealing with insurgents, militants, terrorists, non-state actors, an enemy neighbor and an enemy brother, national security takes precedence over the debate around gender parity. Gender parity is only possible in a country which is peaceful,
Yeah.
right, sir? And we at Roundtable believe in women empowerment and gender parity as long as the conditions for peace are maintained. So, sir, I would like to ask you now, finally, it's because we were having a discussion. Defense aspirants traditionally have been focusing on mental and physical faculties, right? And sharpening of their mental and physical faculty, sharpening of their academic ability. In fact, if 25 years ago, if you were dealing with an unmanned aerial vehicle, today we are looking at drone based warfare, today we are looking at data warfare, information warfare. Do you think that there needs to be also a change in mindset when it comes to defense aspirants in our country? What changes do you envisage going forward in the future, sir?
See, the changes, a young person who wants to join the defense forces, I would like to tell him that it is not only the guns that a person fights with. Yes, people who are in the front line, they have to carry guns, fire guns, and fight a real enemy. But there are so many other things that are supposed to be done by soldiers. Cyber security,
Right,
that is something which is supposed to be handled without wielding a gun.
right,
Signal communication, that is supposed to be provided by the combat troops. Signal communication that is to be provided to the combat troops by people who are not holding guns.
right,
Supply of ration, that has to be done by troops who are not holding a gun, or maybe holding gun but not firing a combat enemy. So there are so many things which for which we need soldiers, and fighting with a weapon in hand is one part of this entire gamut. So people who are wanting to join the armed forces, uh, there is a plethora of things that they can opt for. If they are technically savvy, they have an option for that also. If they are if they want challenging life, then they have an option for that. If they want to remain slightly in the background and yet support the combat troops, there's an option for that also. They can join the education services or course, where they can be in the line of teaching the soldiers various aspects of military life. So There are plethora of things which are open to the younger generation to join in the armed services.
So this has, I mean, suffice to say that this has been a very enriching conversation. And I'm sure our viewers will also vouch for that. Before we take a leave, sir, uh, I would want you to share the most satisfying moment of your service career. What would that be?
See, raising and commanding 62 RR itself was a very satisfying experience that I had. But within this larger 62 RR raising is concerned, there were minor, small incidents which gave me a lot of pleasure and professional pleasure, sort of a thing. I want to highlight a particular incident. You know, there was a village where an encounter was on, and uh, one casualty had already taken place. And the two company commanders which were there, one was slightly old, and the other one was a slightly younger one. That was his first operation. And when the operation began, the terrorists were throwing grenades, and one of the grenades was hit. One of the sprinters hit one boy of this company, and he was seriously wounded. When I came to know about this, I rushed to this particular village, and because I was at a different place, which was about 2 hours away, I was conducting grenade firing over there. So as I was coming, I picked up the driver en route from not the driver, the doctor en route, and I came to this village. When I came to this village, the casualty was at the on the roadhead, and he was bleeding profusely. The others were trying to put first field dressing, etc., into his wound to stop his bleeding. However, the doctor attended to him, and he gave me a thumbs up signal that the boy was okay. And although he was bleeding and loss of blood was there, but with helicopter evacuation, they will be able to manage the casualty. Now, the two officers were talking, and they were not actually aware that I have reached the village. So the younger officer, that is Major Himanshu, he was slightly panicking, and he said, "Ki, the terrorist is firing, he's throwing grenades. What am I supposed to do? How are we going to contain him?" And thoughts are coming into his mind of this type. And that is when the other company commander comes online, and he tells the Major Himanshu, he tells Major Himanshu that Himanshu, don't worry, Tiger is on site and things will be sorted out. And that is where, when I heard this, I felt so elated. I said, "Ki, this is a reward or an award that I have got, which is higher than any gallantry award. It is a appreciation that I've got from a compatriot, from my, a brother officer who has professionally acknowledged that if I am present on the scene, then things will be all right." And I took it as a challenge upon me to go into the battle, meet Himanshu, and ensure that the second terrorist is eliminated. So that was one incident which I very dearly remember. The second was at the end of my command, when I was to relinquish command. So in those days, the COs were supposed to go and meet the army commander, and army commander was General Panag. So I also went over there, and as I entered his office, he walked up and shook hands with me, and he made me sit in front of him. And then we talked about various things. But then he said, "Ki, I am the army commander, and I am going around and seeing so many various commanding officers. But one thing I want to mention is that uh, you are the only tiger in Northern Command." Now, this was an appreciation that came from General Panag. General Panag was a very difficult person to to please and to convince. And a word of praise of this level coming from him, I was extremely elated. So these are two incidents which I thought they have been a hallmark of my tenure in 62 RR, which I wanted to share.
The tiger is indeed here. I should say that. Brigadier Brij Gopal, it has been an absolute honor to have you at this joint presentation by Roundtable and St. John's. And you have illuminated the discussion to the extent and degree that our students, our viewers would greatly benefit.